Good morning and welcome. Greetings. Hello. It is 8 o'clock in the morning. It is the 30th day of March 2022. It is about 8 o'clock in the morning here in Ventura, California. It's 62 degrees and sunny, and I am your guide to all the tabletop role-playing game news, weather, sports, and general internet nonsense that is the OGGM, and it is the week that keeps on giving. The slap heard round a world, the controversial cataclysm that is tabletop role-playing game. Let's take a look at all the tabletop role-playing game product that might be available on the shelves at your friendly local game store. That's Dreamworld Collectibles here in Ventura, California. But remember, these dates are, as always, tentative because the world is still happening. From WizKids, we have some new figures. We have something called a body clot, a body taker plant, a star spawn emissary, and an unspeakable horror. These are Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. They're all from Ravenloft, I guess. They're single miniatures, about $14 each. They all, I'm looking at the pictures. The plant one looks kind of cool. The unspeakable horror one, I guess. The other two just look like sort of globs of clay that somebody said, yep, that's an unspeakable horror. $15 for one figure seems kind of pricey. From Smoldering Dung Games, okay, you win this week's prize for best name for a company. We have Flipping and Turning, issue number 7. This is a magazine running about $20. It's the official gaming magazine of the Grog Talk podcast, and this is an assassin-themed issue, so I guess it figures all sorts of different types of assassin builds and ideas and campaigns and stuff. I've never heard of this, but okay. From Goodman Games, we have Dungeon Crawl Classics core rulebook with the Stephen Pogg edition. So, as you know, Dungeon Crawl Classic releases versions of their core rulebooks for every couple months with art done by different artists. So this one is done by Stephen Pogg, P-O-A-G. We also have Angels and Demons and Beings in Between. This is a book of spells and patrons for DCC. And we have the American Survival Guide. This is the core setting guide for DCC's Goodman Games post-apocalypse role-playing game. Lots of my fun stuff from Goodman Games for DCC. I love DCC. It is way too complicated for me to run, but I love playing it. But geez, God, so many rules. If you are an Appendix N lover of random tables, DCC is the game for you. And as always, if you have any questions about DCC, check out my buddy Aaron the Pendantic. He is sort of the guide to all things DCC. For the Melsonian Arts Council, we have Academies of the Arcane. This is for Troikia. It's $50. It contains new stuff for Magic for the Troikia role-playing game. From GameStart Studios, we have Fantasy World Creator Treasure Pack, Fantasy World Creator The Master's Black Book. These are cards and tokens type of thing. Game tiles, everything like that. So it seems to be a box filled with cards, tokens, game tiles, things you can draw on, things you can use to track things, maps, stuff like that. That's $90. The Fantasy World Creator Treasure Pack is similar to the main box, but it contains an additional 24 game tiles, 44 character tokens, and 20 doors and portal tokens. So more tokens and stuff like that. The Master's Black Book is a 150-page dry erase notebook. Dry erase notebook? Yeah, I guess you could do that. And that is $21. So for $21, you can get a 150-page notebook that you can dry erase. That seems pointless. I could just go to the 99-cent store and get a 150-page notebook for 99 cents. And then, if I make a mistake, well, I only spent 99 cents. So, me, I love tokens and I love props and I love things that help you game. So, $90 seems really expensive, though, for just, I don't know. From Monty Cook Games, we have for Numenaria, Break the Horizon. This is a $45 rules expansion for Numeria by Bruce Cordell. Yeah, Monty Cook Gangs, Numeria. At least he's supporting something. Yeah. And that's about it. For tabletop role-playing game products that might be on the shelves of your tabletop role-playing game friendly local game store, that's Dreamworld Collectibles here in Ventura, California. The Tales for Xavier, the Dragon Prince RPG, has been locked. It is using Cortex Prime and the first new Cortex-powered game in about over a year. It's been a while since we've seen... Oh my God, it's first new Cortex-powered game in about 10 years. This is a... That can't be right. This says 3 to 12 page book. It's got to be 312 pages because 3 pages to 12 pages means you're not sure. It's $50 for the hardcover or $25 for the PDF. The PDF should be available today, and the hardcover will ship, I guess, next week or next month. So this is the Tales of Xavier Dragon Prince role-playing game. I have the playtest. It didn't really impress me. Again, it's one of those things that feels like it should be a supplement, not an entire game. Or maybe it isn't a supplement using Cortex Prime. And if this is correct, that it's the first Cortex Prime book we've seen in like 10 years. The guy who wrote this, or at least has something to do with it, the Cam guy, has been flagged for being controversial and woke and whatever. So I don't know. I don't... $50 for a Dragon Prince set role-playing game. I mean, Dragon Prince is a good setting for a role-playing game, but I don't know if it deserves its own game, but it could just be a supplement for like less. The Cortex Prime community, speaking of Cortex, the Cortex Prime community license has been rewritten. They released a Cortex Prime community license last year, but people were upset with it because the way it was written, it sounded like the artists did not get control of their own creations once they made it community-based. But the new written rules for the community-based SRD, this is like OGL or open source, says that you now do retain the rights to your product even if you release it using the Cortex Prime open source. That's about it for new stuff. Slow week. Where are we? It's the end of March. Considering everything that's going on in the world, the fact that it's a slow week isn't that surprise. We won't really start seeing an influx of the big stuff till probably end of April or going into May as we approach summer and con season. Tales of Xavier being the first of the big ones, but Tales of Xavier didn't really receive the praise and questions, and is this gonna change the, whatever, the way that the Avatar game has and the Blade Runner has. So, I don't know. Just interesting, but it's just definitely one of those things I feel, as always, it could have been a supplement. And, I'll say the same thing about Avatar, even though it is using Powered by the Apocalypse, it is its own game that uses a modified version of Powered by the Apocalypse, and depending upon how much it costs, could it have been just a supplement for Powered by... But then, it assumes you have the rules, and if you don't have the rules for Cortex Prime or a Powered by the Apocalypse, you still have to get them, so you still end up spending about the same amount of money. So really, at the end of this conversation, I don't know what I'm talking about, but that's okay, because I've been the OG GM, your guide to all the tabletop role-playing game news, weather, sports, and general internet nonsense, with this week's list of all the tabletop role-playing game products that should be on the shelf of your friendly local game store. That's Dreamworld Collectibles here in Ventura, California. So if you want to order any of these, head on down to your friendly local game store. That's Dreamworld Collectibles here in Ventura, California, and ask them to look into it for you and tell them the OG GM sent you. Until next time, get out of my weird-looking cave with a face thing, you damn... I don't even know what's going on here. See ya.